Saturday chat. As always, it's 10 o'clock or thereabouts. I think I'm about 5 minutes early. But here I am and waiting for your questions. It's always a great point in my week, one that I really look forward to. And I hope you've all brought your cups of tea, because it seems to be becoming something that people really like to do. And of course, I've got mine, which I have right here, which I'll be taking sips of every now and again, because you ask me so fantastic questions that I do sometimes need to have a drink. So I'm just going to go and find the chat screen so that I can see exactly what all of you are saying. And once I've done that, I can start to answer all of your questions. So the format is exactly the same as always. If you've got a question, could be anything royal related, just let me know. And it's been a busy week, as it always is. So much going on. And in fact, there's been a breaking story right now, which I've just managed to write an article for before I've just come online. And I'll be completing that after this live chat. And I'll tell you a little bit about it later on. Okay, so I'm still just searching for the chat room. Please say hi, even if you haven't got a question. I still like to say hi to you, really. Okay, so I found the chat room, and let me see if I can see any of you. It's coming up. Aha, Miss Terry. This is Miss Terry. Miss Terry watching from Australia. Good morning. Hello, Miss Terry. And Steve Tack. Hi, Steve. Little Stinker Stevens. Good evening from Kentucky. Hello in Kentucky. Vansley Girl. Hi, Elliot. Hi, Vansley. And I hope you've all had a fantastic week. And I hope you've all got your cups of tea or coffee or whatever it is that you like to drink. Okay, Steve says, he's straight in there with a question. What are my thoughts on the hedge at Kensington Palace? Now, those of you who have seen the video, I did do a video. As soon as I heard about the hedge, I did a hedge video. So basically, I just reported that William and Catherine have issued a hedge to be built at Kensington Palace. And this is actually taxpayer funded because it's within the Kensington Palace Gardens grounds. So therefore, it comes under taxpayer funding. However, it is obviously to screen off their apartment, which is apartment 1A, which is Princess Margaret's former apartment. I have done a video on that as well previously, if you search back. But basically, this hedge is about 820 foot long, hundreds of conifers that are already sort of 5-6 foot tall, and they're being planted. There's been a digger being used, and obviously the purpose is to screen off the Cambridge's apartment. But also there are lots of other royals that live in the palace, so it will benefit them too. But my own personal thoughts on it are that they are entitled to their privacy, and they've used the Kensington Palace home on off, obviously, since their marriage, but their main home was in Norfolk, which was Anmer Hall. But now that they're going to be primarily based in London, come September, they do need to have a bit more privacy as they're being used more. And basically this bit where they're planting the hedge, people, members of the public can, or paparazzi or press, can just stand there and stare at the property. And if you have a long lens or a pair of binoculars, you can see in. And of course, it also borders Billionaire Row, where there's lots of foreign embassies and houses that are worth hundreds of millions of pounds each. And pedestrians can go up and down on this bit. So there's a big railing fence, and then they're planting this hedge. The conifers will grow roughly 1 foot a year, and they can reach anywhere between 40 and 90 foot. So it will form a permanent barrier. My own personal thoughts are that perhaps they do need heightened privacy and protection, seeing as it's going to be their main base from now on. But let me know what you think. What do you think about the hedge? Should they be planting a hedge? or not? What do you think about the money? Should British taxpayers be funding it? It's estimated to be costing around about £20,000, which is quite a lot of money. Probably $35,000, something along those lines. Nicole says, hi Elliot, hi Nicole. And Chelsea says hi as well. Hi Chelsea, welcome to the live chat. Please let me know any of your questions. As always, I do have my own agenda with some notes written down so I don't forget anything. But usually, you guys are so good with your questions that you pretty much ask me what I have on my list anyway. Okay, so Thomas says, old news, but what do you think about the roles of Princess Beatrice and Eugenie in the future? Do you think they will get bigger? And cheers from the Kingdom of Norway. Well, hello in Norway. And to answer your question, I think I have spoke about it before, but basically, I think the roles of Eugenie and Beatrice will grow when there is a need for it to grow. At the moment, William, Catherine and Harry are still part-time working royals. As we know, William's stepping up and he's becoming a full-time working royal in September. But until Harry and Catherine are both full-time working royals, I don't think there is a need for Eugenie and Beatrice. Well, a justifiable role for them to have anyway. So I think as soon as all the others are full-time working royals, then there possibly will be a future role for Beatrice and Eugenie that can be justified to be funded. So hopefully that answers your question. Tim says, I made it. Hi, Tim. And Chelsea says, yes, they should have the Hedges to keep the kids safe. Tim says, many of my workmates have asked this to me, and I wonder myself, when Prince Philip does pass away, do you think the Queen will step down? Just curious. No, I don't. I think she will just carry on. Queen Victoria carried on after her husband Prince Albert died. I think she will just carry on. The Queen Mother was supposed to step back a little bit shortly before she died. However, she didn't. She just carried on. Now, just excuse me for a second. I forgot to get the power cable for the computer. So before it dies, I need to just pop off and get the power. The power goes off, we will have no chat, which will not be very good. Usually, I do plug it in, but I forgot to do it. Okay, and we're back. It said 7% power. We were going to cut out. Oh no, I didn't want to cut out. Okay. Nicole says, why can't Prince William pay for the barrier himself? Well, technically he could, and he might, if there is public outcry or it's attracting some bad press. And of course, we'll know tomorrow in the Sunday papers if it's attracting bad press, then he may just make a voluntary contribution, which he may offer to do anyway. So let's not put him down on this one until perhaps a couple of weeks' time. But I do think he will probably pay for the hedge himself. Jason Lewis Young says, really sorry, but you're at work and you can't watch live. Just quickly logged on to say hi and you'll watch later. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for highlighting the fact that you can watch later. So if you can't ever make the live chat, you can always watch on catch up when I put the video on there. So thank you, Jason, for popping on to say hi. And I hope you have a good time at work. What time do you finish work? Tim says, is it true the Queen Mother was walking until 100? Yes. She had 2 sticks in the end and she was still wearing slight heeled shoes. So she was amazing. And there's every hope that the Queen Elizabeth, will be the same and keep good health. Tim says, come back, I like your table on the sidewall. It's my console table. I'm actually in my kitchen, which you can't really see the kitchen bit, but I'm actually in my kitchen and that's my side table. And if you look over there, you can see my tea and coffee containers where I keep my tea and coffee. Steve says, what badge do I have on? This is actually a charity badge, and we have a local special needs charity, which is like a house. It's called Hope House. If you Google it, the charity is called Hope House, and it's a It's a facility that takes children with life-limiting illnesses, and it takes them in to give their families some respite and gives them a really good time. The children that access this facility, Hope House, have an amazing time, and the staff are amazing. They do such good work. And this was actually given, those of you who know that I work for a special needs school, and a child with a life-limiting illness that I was looking after sadly passed away. And when I was visiting him once at Hope House, his parents, his dad, gave me this badge. So sometimes I wear this in honour of him. So it's an amazing charity, and if you want to find out more about it, it's Hope House. Elaine says, I am proud of the royal family apart from Andrew. I believe he let the family down. People have varying thoughts about Prince Andrew and Sarah. I just think let them be. They obviously want to tread their own path, Sarah treading her path and Andrew his. And sometimes, like everybody, we're not all perfect, and sometimes we can let people down. Tim says, what did you do with the royal letters? You've got to frame them. I framed the one from the Queen, the actual letter, and that one's framed. The other ones, I want to find some kind of glass frame that's double-sided so that I can see the writing on the back. And until I find them, I've just got them in a drawer in the envelopes. So they're all protected, they're all safe. I've kept all the envelopes, and hopefully I will find a frame soon. Miss Terry says, I just watched the first season of The Crown. Have you watched? People ask me this every single week. I have it on my computer. But so much goes on, and with work, I still haven't watched it. I'm really bad. Smack. But I am going to watch it. I really am. And I will make the effort to watch The Crown. I know everyone enjoys it. Everyone says it's amazing that I've seen. Obviously, I'm expecting a little bit of artistic license. But basically, people say that it's very authentic. And of course, there's a second series being announced. So once I watch the first one, I will look forward to the second, I'm sure. Chelsea says, Prince William should pay. Remember the Queen in 1992. You're referring to her annus horribilis when the Windsor Castle, well, part of it burnt down. So yes, she did eventually pay for the repair work to that. And I think that in very much the same way, Prince William will pay for the hedge. George says, George Boyd, the Queen's health is improving, finally. Is she travelling a little more lately? Well, she's not really travelling because she's still based at Sandringham in Norfolk, which is her country property, still on her Christmas break. She doesn't return back to Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle until early February. So probably within the next couple of weeks, she'll be back and doing full-time royal duties. But of course, even though she's still on her Christmas break, she still conducts some private work, and she still gets her red boxes of official government papers which she signs and reads. And she's just attended her first official engagement since her illness, since her heavy cold, which I've done a video on today, so please go and watch that. They basically recreated Fiji for her, and because she can't do long haul travel anymore, I think that will be a trendsetter. I think we'll see more events and countries in the Commonwealth being brought to her. So it was very much a theme day. She met some Fijian warriors, which were actually rugby players, I do believe, and there are some pictures of those if you're interested. So please watch that video. But she has started travelling a little bit more, and of course, but not, she won't do long haul. And of course, when she's back to full-time royal duties, we'll see her on lots more engagements. Okay, Miss Terry said, I thought it was excellent, watch it, I will do. Thomas says, do we know if there will be any special celebration events with the Queen and the Duke's wedding jubilee? Nothing has been announced. I think it will be very much in the same ilk as when she became the longest reigning monarch. I think she'll just have a quiet, private ceremony, unless something is announced in the meantime. Of course, there'll be media attention, there'll be things in the news, but nothing official, nothing big like the last Jubilee. Perhaps they're saving that for the next one in 5 years' time. Loretta says, hi, you made it and happy to see you. I'm happy to see you too. I'm so glad you made it. Nicole says, I'm excited about the newly commissioned Princess Diana statue. That's the breaking news that I was talking about. Basically, within the hour, Kensington Palace has announced that William and Harry want to commission a Princess Diana statue, a commemorative statue to their late mother, and it is to be situated in the grounds of Kensington Palace, in Kensington Palace Gardens. So, of course, it's a public place. People can go and they can pay their respects to the statue. Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorkadale, will be on the panel. They still yet to finalise a sculptor, and we still don't know what the statue will look like. Please let me know what you think, but I have an idea. Princess Diana always loved dancing and performing, and to me, one of her most memorable images was when she was dancing with John Travolta. And there's that one pose where she has her arm extended and she's wearing the black dress, and you can see the choker that she's wearing. And I think that pose is very elegant, and it captures movement and flow and grace and elegance, and it's something that she loved. And I could really see that image, just of her, not of John Travolta obviously, but just that one of her with her arm extended, graceful, elegant. I could see that image as a statue, and I would love for that image to be the statue. But please tell me what you think. What image do you think they should turn into the sculpture? Please leave your comments in the comment section below if you're watching this on catch-up, and tell me on the main chat. Please let me know what you think. There's so many amazing images of Diana out there. Elaine says, I thought Little Mia is amazing. Yes, I hope you all watched my video about her 3rd birthday. Her character really came out. Yes, and I absolutely loved the picture of when she was holding the Queen's handbag. It just showed how cheeky she was. And I tried to include lots of the cheekiest pictures of her that I could find for her 3rd birthday celebration video. So I hope you all really enjoyed that. Steve said, I'd like to see a statue of Diana with her children. That's another really good idea. I think people would like that too. And Elaine says, I hope the statue does come about. Nicole says, wow, what a beautiful idea. I think so. I think that's the most amazing image of her, and it captivates her. It captivates the joy, her love of dancing, grace, elegance. It's timeless. I really would push for that idea, but I don't have any influence on the committee, so let's hope the committee is watching this video. The image should be the dance, says Elaine. I really think so. Please, I beg the committee to watch this video and take up that idea. I might tweet them, actually. I might tweet them my idea. Let's all tweet them and message them. Okay, if you've just joined the chat, as always, it's the same format. Please leave a question, any royal-related question you might have about the royal week, about royal past, about royal future. Please let me know. Okay, so we've spoke about the William and Catherine privacy hedge. And of course, the Queen has extended an invitation to President Donald Trump to attend a full state visit to the United Kingdom sometime in the summer. We don't know the details, but Theresa May, on her visit to see President Trump, asked him, and of course he accepted. So I'm really looking forward to that state visit and all the coverage that I'll be able to bring you about that. There's some talk that Trump might want to go up to Balmoral, which would be, fairly unique, because at Balmoral, it's in Scotland, and of course he has Scottish heritage, and he likes golf, and they have a golf course. So whether or not they'll include Balmoral in the state visit, which would be an unusual step, We don't know. They usually visit Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle. And of course, he'll have a ride in all these state coaches, and he'll probably attend a state banquet. William and Catherine may attend. And of course, Barack Obama actually went to William and Catherine's home at Kensington Palace. So will we see Donald Trump visiting Kensington Palace? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm sure it will be very exciting when it's all happening. Elaine says, I will tweet, but I'm new to it, so we'll need some advice on how to do it. Maybe you can help me. Basically, what I can do is I can find on my Twitter account whoever it is that we need to tweet, and I can maybe tweet them, and then you can follow my tweet and retweet it to them. Maybe that would work. So if you want to know what my Twitter account is, it's Royal Reviewer on Twitter. The details are in the description of every video I do. So if you want to know my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, whatever, just look in any video in the description box and you will see all the links. And there's also links on my main YouTube page as well. Steve says, I think the presidents should have to wait until they've achieved something before being invited. Unfortunately, that's diplomacy, and to begin foreign policy and foreign relations, you have to do these visits. As a country, you have to have people coming to visit you, and you have to go and visit other countries. And these state visits are highly important on the world stage to help achieve something. So I suppose you could say it's a little bit of a means to an end, but these things have to be done. Okay, and I really hope that you enjoyed my video of Prince Harry when he was visiting the running charity, and he basically was wearing jogging clothes, and he went out jogging with homeless people, or former homeless people who had benefited from the charity. And the charity was the DePaul Centre. I think it was the DePaul Centre, which his mother Diana actually opened and had a lot to do with. And while he was there, he saw a picture of her on the wall, and he stopped to look and he smiled. So I hope you've seen that video, because you really have to see the image to really understand the emotion behind it. He looked like he had such an amazing time, and of course he's highlighting such an important cause. Thomas says, when King Olav of Norway went to the UK on his state visit, I believe he visited Scotland, and that it was the first state visit to Scotland in a long time. No, it's not unheard of, but it's not common. Of course, all the really big state ceremonies usually happen in London or Windsor Castle, so there would have to be some sort of reason for it, and the reason might be Trump's Scottish heritage, and of course the Queen loves Balmoral anyway, and in the summer she does have her summer break up there, so it could happen. It could be in Scotland. Nicole says, hopefully President Trump will remain in Britain. Please keep it. Things come and things have to go back. So we can't keep him, I'm afraid. Tim says, will Prince Harry have a huge royal wedding like his brother? I believe it probably will be televised, unless he wants to do something completely unheard of. He could, of course, marry in the Chapel Royal, which would be a lot more personal and private, but I'd imagine he'd have a big ceremony. He might choose St. Paul's. I think he might go for something like St. Paul's, perhaps. I think he'd want it to be different to William's, so Westminster Abbey might not be the obvious choice. Well, it might be the obvious choice, but I don't think he'll go for it. Mac says, hey Elliot, it's my brother's 18th birthday and my family are over. I really want to watch, but I can't leave. I'm currently watching without the volume. Don't worry, you can watch on catch up, and I hope you enjoy your brother's birthday. Tim says Obama achieved nothing, but he was invited in 2009. I think you'll probably find that all the US presidents, unless you can correct me, were probably invited at some point for a state visit. And of course, the Queen has been over or a member of the royal family has been over to visit America, as indeed many other countries, for state visits. Thomas says, and is it expected that Prince Harry will become a duke when he gets married? It's custom that a royal prince receives a dukedom upon marriage. So what will happen is probably the day before the marriage, or even on the morning, Harry would be made a duke. It could be something like Sussex or Clarence, the Duke of Clarence or the Duke of Sussex. It's undecided really, but that will be conferred on him the day before or on the morning, so that when he marries, his wife, whoever that might be, will become the Duchess of so-and-so. And of course, his wife will not be a princess in her own right. However, she could be entitled to be called the Princess Harry, or rather the Princess Henry, because that is his correct name. Much as the Princess Michael of Kent is the Princess Michael of Kent, because she married Prince Michael of Kent. So if Harry didn't get a dukedom, she would be the Princess Henry. If he gets a dukedom, she will be the Duchess of whatever. Tim says, what will Harry and Meghan's title be? We don't know. Sussex, I think, is available. Clarence is available. Windsor is available, although probably they won't use that one. So it could be any title that has reverted to the crown, any ducal title. Miss Terry says, how lovely you are being so non-political. Well done, Elliot. I try. I mean, in a way, you have to be a little bit political because monarchy involves a little bit of a dance with politics. Of course, they're there because of politics, and they are used as a tool by the government of the day to meet other heads of state. Of course, the Queen is the head of state, not our Prime Minister. So because the President of the United States is head of state, a head of state meets a head of state. And of course, the Prime Minister is involved, but it really is a head of state to head of state. So, of course, there is politics involved in royalty. I think I had some comments on my previous video that I did about President Trump and the bust of Winston Churchill. And people were saying, well, why are you doing a video on politics? I want to watch royal videos, and this is a royal channel. And my answer was simple. This politics becomes royal. That video is a preliminary video to Trump's state visit. It's almost like an introduction to the fact that he will be having interaction with the royal family. And I hope people can understand that sometimes you have to talk about politics in relation to royalty. So it is important. And of course, Winston Churchill is arguably one of the most well-known, famous British prime ministers and representatives of Britain that there have been. So, of course, it was a very important video to make. And I'm glad that I did. And hopefully that introduces the issue of Trump visiting the Queen. So do I have any other questions? Please let me know. Okay, one thing I would like you to all know, so please, if you're watching on catch up or if you're watching live, please comment on who you think, who would you like me to send a royal letter to next. Obviously, I finished my experiment. I got all the replies that I sent out for the Christmas cards. So I got all my New Year's wishes back, but I want to send out a new load. I want to send out a new batch and have a new experiment, but I'd like to send it to some different royals. So please let me know who your favourite, slightly more obscure royal is that I haven't already sent one to, and I might decide to go with your choice. I'm thinking Princess Michael of Kent, possibly the Gloucesters, and the Duke of Kent. But please let me know. Possibly Sarah Ferguson. I don't know. Let me know. Eugenie, Beatrice. Let me know who you think, and I might go with a viewer choice. Mansley Girl says, I once heard the Queen say in a video that during a state visit, the royal family are the entertainment. They have a very odd function. It's like they do entertain, they do host, they represent the country, but of course they aren't the power of the country. The power lies in the government, so they're acting on behalf of the government. So it is a very strange situation, and a little bit like what I'm having to be now. You have to be involved slightly in politics, but slightly above it. You have to be neutral as you possibly can. Steve says, I liked your Trump Churchill video. Thank you very much. I'm glad you did. Chelsea says, sorry, Elliot, your mother has called you away. What have I been talking about in the last 10 minutes? You can always catch up, but we have been talking about Prince Harry, what his title will be if he becomes a Duke, and a little bit about President Trump and the upcoming state visit to the UK. Tim says, yes, I wonder why was not Charles made a Duke in 1981? What's the difference? He is the Duke. Basically, he is the Duke of Cornwall. As the heir to the throne, he is the Duke of Cornwall. But of course, he also got bestowed the Prince of Wales title. So his preliminary title is the Prince of Wales. Secondary is the Duke of Cornwall, which is why Camilla is known as the Duchess of Cornwall. Yule Nod says Zara Phillips. Yes, or Zara Tindall. She's now married. I could send one to Zara. You're right, Zara and Mike Tindall. Very interesting choice. Tim says, do you think the Queen's overseas visits are over? Yes. I don't, not completely overseas, but long haul. So she might travel to European countries, but long haul, probably anything over 2-3 hours, I would probably say those days are over, unless there is an exceptional circumstance. Steve says, letter to Zara and Mike, they seem such a nice family. They do. So perhaps perhaps the viewer choice could be Zara Phillips. Any other choices from anyone else? Nicole says, I loved your video on Prince Harry's visit to the hostel. He seemed generally touched while viewing Princess Diana's photo. Yes, I really like the royal engagement videos. In a way, it's a little bit like throwaway media. You know, once the event's over, it's done. But I do like to show what the royals do on a day-to-day basis, because I think it's important that people realise that they do actually work, that there is a function behind the royalty. And when I show those videos, it's basically a constitutional monarchy in action. That's how it works, and also what members of the family do, and not just the monarch. It's the fact that the whole family are involved. Okay. And I just want to update those of you who know, last week we started to put together a book club. And the book that we decided to read was Margaret Rhodes, The Final Curtsey. And I have got my book on order. I've given everyone 2 weeks to sort of get the book together. But in the UK, the book is out of stock. It's probably because of her death. It sparked interest in the book. And anyway, I've ordered it, but it's not in stock. So I don't know when I'm going to get my copy. I might not receive it in time for 2 weeks. So hopefully that time might be extended. So anyone who wants to get the book, it's Margaret Rhodes, The Final Curtsey, and we will be setting chapters to read each week, and then we can talk about it on the live chat. Hopefully that will make everything a lot more interactive and interesting. So that's the update on that. I may have to end up buying it on Kindle, but I do like to have a physical book. Tim says, you missed everything that I said. Oh no, you got booted. Yeah, you'll probably have to go back and watch the bit that you've missed on catch up. We did talk about quite a lot, so I can't really go into detail on it, but please go back after the live chat and catch up. Steve says you got your copy of the book. Lucky you. I'm still waiting. Although I did get another book. Those of you may have heard that Prince Charles has written or co-written a Ladybird book on climate change, and I ordered it and it came through this week, and it came from Amazon and it's here. I have already opened it, but I haven't really looked at the book. I've just kind of opened it and looked, so I'm going to get it out now. So here is the Prince Charles Ladybird book, and it says climate change, and there's the Ladybird logo on the book, and it says His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales and Tony Juniper and Emily Shuckburgh, and it has a very Ladybird style illustration on the front, and it's classed as a Ladybird expert book. And if I read the bit on the back, it does say, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales has been an environmental leader for over 40 years, working with business, charities, governments and others to help promote sustainable ways of living and working. He made his first speech on the environment in December 1968 and has long warned of the irreversible effects of climate change. In October 2007, he set up the Prince's Rainforest Project to slow tropical deforestation and combat climate change. And in 2010, his International Sustainability Unit was established to facilitate consensus on key environmental challenges, including how best to protect food security and sustain vital ecosystems. The Prince of Wales has also sought to address climate change challenges through his patronage of the University of Cambridge. Wow. So basically, it describes a little bit about the co-authors, and it has a foreword by Clarence House, not sure if you can see that, and it's signed by Prince Charles, and it's basically quite a wordy book. The text is fairly small, and it's beautifully illustrated in a very old-fashioned Ladybird type way. The book is, let me check how many pages. The book is 48 pages long, and it seems like a really good read. So I'm really looking forward to being able to start that book. I got mine off Amazon, and I think it was about £8, £7, £8, which is probably $12, $13, $14. So it was a fairly good price. I would advise, if you want it, to order it now, in case the first print run runs out. So please, if you want a copy of the book, go and order it. Bounty Gill says, this is your channel, of course the time should be extended. My book is on order. I think we need to wait until everyone who wants to be in the book club has got their book. But I don't know in the UK when it's going to be back in print. So they'll probably send me an email and let me know, hopefully in due course. Miss Terry says, sorry, I missed the title of the book. My kettle is noisy. Do you mean the book club book? It's by Margaret Rhodes, which was the Queen's cousin, and sadly she passed away a couple of months back. And it's called The Final Curtsey. And it's about her memoirs, probably about her life as well, but also it includes lots about the Queen. And of course, she was raised partly with the Queen. So her life and the Queen's life have lots of parallels. Loretta says, is your Queen Victoria series going to be on videos or live chat? Do you mean the actual series Victoria? If so, it's already been out in the UK. It was out way before Christmas, probably September, October time. It was an amazing series. I actually have it on DVD already. But of course, whenever you guys start watching it, I don't know when it's going to be aired in your country, but let me know, and let me know which episode you're on, and I can watch it at the same time. So if I know you're on episode 1, I can watch episode 1 and reacquaint myself, and then we can talk about it. And when do we start the book and what chapters? Well, I'm going to wait a little bit for everyone to get the book. I haven't got mine yet. And we can maybe set three or four chapters, whatever. a week, whatever we think we can manage, and then of course we can talk about it. CM Moon says, hi, I made it. Hello. Miss Terry says, thank you. And Gangster President Trump says, White House. So we have President Trump in the house, but he's turned gangster. So hello, Gangster President Trump. And we have Hillary Clinton, who's used a very naughty word towards President Trump. Or well, perhaps that's towards me, I don't know. I feel very honoured to be joined by Hillary and President Trump. For those of you watching on Catch Up, on the chat page, I've been joined by Gangster President Trump and Hillary Clinton. So I do feel honoured. Chelsea Thomas says, run Clinton. Okay, I've actually covered everything that's on my list of things to talk about. And most of it was instigated by you guys. So please, any other questions that you have, I'm open to answering. Please let me know. Hillary Clinton says, can we read 50 Shades of Grey? Unfortunately, it's not a royal book, so we can't. Dawn Moore says, hi Elliot, hi Dawn. And Vanity Girl says, please no cursing. I agree, we shouldn't really curse. Luckily, the actual chat, this chat page doesn't actually go out on the video, so my channel will still remain PG. And unfortunately, I don't know how to block people from here, so we'll have to just go with it. Roll with the punches, as they say in showbiz. Okay. And Steve says, US will air episode 3 this. Oh wow! So you're on episode 3 already. I didn't know. So what you're up to? Are you up to the wedding? Are you up to Prince Albert and Victoria's wedding? I don't know. Have they met yet? Dawn Moore says, no place for politics. It's for royals. Miss Terry says, I'm reporting each one as they appear. Thank you. I don't quite know how to do it from here. So if you feel like reporting, then please report. Chelsea says, I don't like how Peaky Blinders used Churchill as a bad guy. I didn't know they were. Oh, Steve says the wedding episode is tomorrow. That's for Victoria, the TV series. So what do you all think of it? If you have seen it, let me know what you think. I thought it's really good and fairly accurate. I thought the sets were amazing. I was very impressed with the jewellery design and the clothing and the locations and sets and everything. And I just thought it was really good. President Trump says, what's your favourite TV show? My favourite TV show is probably an old one. It's probably the old 90s series of Keeping Up Appearances. That's my favourite. Dawn Moore says, I've been watching so much of Victoria and Albert lately and enjoying the information. It was an amazing TV series. That's all I can say. Maybe I'll have to start watching it to catch up with you guys again, but I do have it on DVD. CM Moon says, I know some people in the UK smoke. Does the royal family smoke? Princess Margaret did. I think that led to some of her health problems. I think I remember seeing somewhere or hearing somewhere that Prince Harry has a cheeky smoke every now and again. But I don't think he's like a regular smoker. It's probably just social, and he's not as social as he was, so I don't really think he's a heavy smoker. Probably just social. I don't think William and Catherine do. I'm not sure about the Queen's cousins or some of the older generation, because of course they would have started smoking before they knew it was bad. So I'm not sure about those. I don't think the Queen has ever participated in a cigarette, and I'm not sure about the Duke of Edinburgh. but certainly in public we haven't seen a royal smoke as such. Perhaps Camilla might. Steve says, love it. Jenna Coleman is fabulous as Victoria. She is. I thought she played an amazing part. And of course, it's such a big role to play. Dawn Moore says, have I managed to see The Crown yet? I have it. I did say earlier that I am going to make the time to watch it. I've just been so busy. The last month has been so hectic with all the videos I've been making and work and private life. I haven't had time to just sit down and veg out and watch The Crown. I have it. It's on my agenda. I will watch it, and as soon as I do, I will tell you exactly what I think about it. Okay, so if you've just joined the chat, as always, I always do my live chats live Saturday, 10 o'clock. The format's simple. Just put your question in the chat box and I will answer you as best I can. And as always, I never know what the questions are going to be. It's always a really nice surprise when a question pops up. I did have an idea as well about making British history videos and perhaps starting with the Tudors. Maybe I could buy a whiteboard and do some proper British history lessons for you guys. Bazigil says, Camilla did smoke, I understand, but has since given it up. I'm not sure. I know that she did smoke, but I'm not sure if she's completely given up. She may be a little bit like Harry, a slightly social smoker. But I don't know if she's completely given up. Nicole says, it seems that Prince Harry and Meghan are very private. He seems to be handling his relationship with her differently. He is. He was very sort of public and open with Cressida and Chelsea Davy. But with Meghan, he's a lot more private, which leads me to believe that it's a lot more serious than the others. And the second part of your question is, how is the British public reacting? The British media seem brutal. They are brutal, and they are reporting on Meghan's family and all the stories about that. I haven't chosen to report on her family because she's not royal yet. As soon as she becomes royal, then her family become a lot more of interest to me. However, because I will report on Meghan because she's dating Harry, and of course I will report on any official girlfriend of Harry. But her family, I do believe that they should get some privacy, and I will not be commenting on her family stories. But the British media have been reporting it. They are fairly brutal, but I think the public are fairly relaxed about Meghan. I don't think any of her former issues are of much concern to the British people. I think people mostly see a very attractive, lovely lady who supports lots of charities. And of course, Harry is head over heels for her. And I think people want to see him happy, as do his family. Thomas says, I really liked Victoria, except for the entire Melbourne thing. Well, that did actually happen, but maybe they have sort of concentrated too much on Melbourne. Queen Victoria is my favourite historical person. Thank you for the answers so far. She's one of my favourite too, but my favourite royal of the past is probably Elizabeth I. And I would love to do some Tudor videos, like I said, and talk about eventually when I get to Elizabeth I. Dawn Moore says, you will have to do a video of what you think of The Crown. I could do a reaction video, maybe. I don't know. I have to figure out how to do it. Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrice says, I finally made it back. Hello, Beatrice. I've forgotten your real name. Does it begin with E? You'll have to remind me. Nicole says, I believe The Crown is better than Victoria. I think it had a lot more money spent on it. I think The Crown had over 100 million and Victoria would have been on a much smaller budget. But both very different periods. Iris, that's it. Princess Beatrice is Iris. I knew it was something similar, something short. So please let me know your questions. I've actually run out of the things that I wanted to talk about because you've covered them already in your questions. So I really am open to anything. And I hope you brought your favourite drink with you. I brought a cup of tea in a glass cup. And I hope you've got whatever your favourite drink is. Coffee, any kind of tea. Let me know what you're drinking. And also let me know about anything that you'd like to see upcoming. And then maybe as well, another Queen at Church video tomorrow. Vanzigil says, a little off topic, but do you think that Catherine's mother really did orchestrate the start of the relationship between William and Catherine? No, I think there's a lot of luck involved. I think Catherine's mother had well, her family in general had a lot to play with where she went to school. Of course, they sent Catherine to a private girls' school, as they did her sister Pippa, which had then put her in good stead to go to the university that William went to. So I think there may have been a little bit of placement choice there. So of course they were bound to meet. And I think it was that initial placing her, putting her in the right place at the right time. And of course there was luck that they were, you know, of similar age, that they would be there at the same time. So a little bit of luck and maybe a little bit of planning. But of course, the only thing they could instigate perhaps was the meeting. The rest was up to William and Catherine about whether they liked each other, if there was a spark, and if there was a chance at a future relationship, which of course we know that there was. So a little bit of luck and perhaps a little bit of planning. Okay, Dawn Moore's drinking wine. Liz Tatum says hello. Hello, Liz. Miss Terry says, I have the same teacup as you. I only use glass now. What do Rhodes use? There must be a standard tea set. Well, I don't always use glass. I just use this to show the tea, because of course with glass you can see the drink. I do have china as well. The Queen Mother, I know, had her favourite china set, which she had brought with her to whichever home she was staying at. I'm not quite sure what the Queen's favourite china set is. There are different china sets for state banquets, which are quite historical ones. But I'm not sure what the royals use in private. I'm not sure what the Queen's actual service is. I would like to find out. Princess Beatrice, or Iris, says, you received your Christmas replies fast. I'm still waiting on a few. I did. I didn't expect them to be so quick, but I did expect to probably have Charles and Camilla's first. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought their office would be rather quick at dispatching the post. But in fact, it was the Queen that I received first. Thomas says, what do you think about the current public perception regarding the Prince of Wales, considering it's 20 years since Diana passed? I think it's fairly good. I mean, he's worked a lot on his image. He's worked a lot on Camilla's image. I think people are generally thinking that, taking a bit more notice about what he says, because we know that the things that he was talking about in the 70s regarding climate change are now becoming reality. People don't see him as this farm pot, or this loon who talks to tomatoes. They actually, who wants to save the world. They actually see that, you know, climate change and environmental issues are actually true, and that he was ahead of his time, and that perhaps people should listen to him a little bit more. Which is why I think when he's king, he'll be known as Charles the Conscientious, or the Conscientious King, because he is very forward thinking. I think in regards to Diana, I think very much it's a lot of water under the bridge. Times past, people don't forget, but people move on. You have to move on in life. It's not healthy to hold grudges. And of course, you know, his boys don't hold grudges. They've moved on as well. You have to move on. John Moore says, with all the other girls at the same school, it could have been anyone. I don't think it was orchestrated, just luck. Yes, of course, he could have gone for any girl there. But I think Catherine was a little bit different to all the others. She was a little bit more shy. I think she held back. She didn't put herself out there as much, which may have made her a little bit more desirable, a little bit more unobtainable to William. And perhaps that's how it worked. Nicole says, how long does it take to make your videos? Depends what it is. If it's something that's not particularly current, if it's something that I'm doing that's a bit more historical or something like that, then if I'm writing it, it takes a lot longer. I have to sort of find the pictures and write the article. If it's something current, when there's lots of pictures in the media floating around, I can write an article in half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Then I have to sync up the pictures to the article I've written, so that I know when to flip the pictures when I'm recording it on the app. Then I record it and then upload it and then promote it on social media. So all in all, from start to finish, I can probably do a video in under 2 hours. So probably about 2 hours. And I try and do at least one a day. If I didn't have a full-time job, I could probably put out 4 videos a day. And I really would love to do 40 videos a day. If I could put out 4 a day, I wouldn't have to be quite so selective in what I do. And for those of you that watch this regularly, know that I've got a list of videos that I would love to make. Lots of obscure ones, such as the Queen meeting all the popes, or the Queen meeting all the presidents. A little bit more, I've got videos on Diana I'd like to do. I'd like to do some more fashion videos on what Catherine's wearing or what Sophie Wessex is wearing. So there's so much. I'd like to do historical videos. I'd like to do royal profiles. I'd like to do some royal cooking videos, some more reaction videos. My list is endless. It's just growing. But I have to be selective because of the time I've got. But usually it takes about 2 hours to answer your question. Chelsea says the budget for the crown is $156 million. Well, I don't think Victoria had that much. Deborah Lundy says, what is Princess Royal up to these days? Well, she's recovered fully from her illness that she had a few months ago, and she's carrying on with royal duties. She is a royal workhorse. She just works and works and works and keeps going. So, of course, she's back to full-time royal duties. Beatrice says, or Iris says, I like Prince Charles. He's very duty ethic. I agree. Deborah says, will Camilla be called Queen? In law, she will be Queen Consort. So, unless the law is changed, she will be Queen Consort. But not Queen in her own right. Very much the same as the Queen Mother wasn't Queen in her own right. Vanity Girl says, the series on the Tudors would be awesome. Queen Elizabeth I was fascinating. She was, and I would love to do it. Greta says, are the royals' homes legally inherited or just passed down? For example, does the Duke of York own Royal Lodge, or will it be passed to another royal? The private homes of the monarch will pass to the next monarch. Buckingham Palace and any of the palaces are owned by the state. So they are always owned by the state and used by the royals. The monarch also passes down the crown estates, so they can't actually sell anything of those or do anything with it. It's held in their name on the nation's behalf, so it can't be treated as private wealth. But the homes, such as Royal Lodge, will be owned by the monarch and used by the royal family, whoever the monarch wants to give it to, basically, for use, but not ownership. Marilyn says, well, hello, this is my first live chat with you and a chance to send you a personal thank you for my interesting videos. Thank you very much, Marilyn. I really do appreciate the comments that people leave in the comment section. I do read them all. Even if I don't get a chance to personally reply, I try to reply to as many as possible. But if I've read them, I always give them a thumbs up. So if you've got a thumbs up on your comment, it means I've read it and I've appreciated it. Nicole says, will the title Duke of Windsor ever be used again? I believe it will, but I don't believe it will be in the Queen's lifetime. So perhaps it could be one used by Prince George. Who knows? Dawn Moore says, I love looking at all the jewels, especially the tiaras, and dream about owning them. I think we all do. I love the jewels too, and I would love to have a good old rummage in the royal jewellery box, or, well, actually the Queen has them all stored away in their official boxes in big jewellery safes. And the jewellery collection of the Queen is curated by her dressmaker, Angela Kelly. So she looks after all the jewels of the Queen. I'd also love to look at the jewels that Camilla has. Of course, we know that she has some pieces on long-term loan from the Queen, which were the Queen Mother's former pieces, like the Greville tiara and the big, massive necklaces, the collet necklaces that she wears. I think some of them are 5 or 6 strands. I'd love to have a look at Diana's collection of jewels as well, which I'm sure are just locked away in a vault somewhere, waiting to be worn. I'd love to see them in use. Thomas says, do I have any interest in watching the movie Yorgos, I can't say this one, Lanthimos? Yorgos Lanthimos will be making about Queen Anne. I would love to watch anything about Queen Anne. If it's royal, I'm interested. Personally, I've always been fascinated by the reigning queens of Britain, and of which there are quite a few now. Yes, I would definitely love to watch that film. I didn't know they were making one. Dawn says, in the video I watched, the Queen Mother brought a castle. You're talking about the Castle of May in Scotland. And I do believe that could actually be owned by Charles. She may have left it in her will to Charles. Yeah, I do think it's probably Charles. Or maybe it went to the Queen and she's lent it to Charles. But I do remember him being there. I'm sure I remember him being there since she passed away. So I'm thinking it's Charles. But whether he owns it or not, or whether it's the Queen lending it to him, I'm not quite sure of. Steve says, is Hampton Court Palace and the Tower of London still owned by the Queen or state? They are state-owned. Dawn Moore says, I would love to see Catherine wear more of Diana's jewels. So would I. I think some of them were divided up though. I think some of them will go to Harry for his future wife. I think the big 7-strand pearl choker with the massive diamond sapphire in the middle that was famously worn by Diana, I think that will possibly go to Harry. So if he marries Meghan, that could possibly be used by Meghan. Who knows? Dawn says, yes, that's the name. That was the Castle of May. Marilyn says, I would love to see the antiques that are stored and not in use. Yes, I believe that when a royal is setting up a home, they can go to the antiques and they can choose which ones they want. So, of course, I think if you go to my video I did about when Barack Obama visited William and Catherine in their home, I did do a video on it. You can actually see some of the antiques that were chosen by Catherine. And she also chose some portraits and pictures as well. So if you look in the backgrounds of those photos, you will see some of those furnitures. And Deborah says, yes, she wants to see Catherine in Diana's jewels too. And we have to remember Diana was very interesting with her jewels. She mixed and matched real jewels with costume jewelry. And of course, in her day wear, she did wear some costume jewelry, or she wore simple, classic gold earrings, or just some simple pearls. So she did wear the big jewels, but she also wore costume jewelry to great effect. Chelsea says, what's the name of the Netflix about Queen Victoria? Also, cat in the background. Do you mean my cat? Let me see. If it was a black one, that's Molly. If it was a tabby one, that's my cat Rory. The name of the Netflix, well, it's not Netflix, it's ITV. ITV in the UK filmed Victoria, but it probably is available on Netflix. And it's called Victoria. It's simply called Victoria. But yes, you might see my cats in the background. Their food is right behind me, so they've just been in munching. Dawn says, what do I think about the American man who claims to be the real king of the Isle of Man? What's latest on that? Basically, if you go back far enough, you could probably get to a different monarch all the time. Basically, if you go back in British history, crowns were won and lost by war. People claimed the throne. They killed kings so they could take the throne for themselves. It didn't always follow heritage, and of course there were usurpers, and so basically, if you go back to the very first king, I mean, who's to say that he should have been the king in the first place? He probably just conquered the land and said, I am the king. And of course, it wasn't the king of the country as it is now. It was lots of separate kingdoms. So within the United Kingdom, which wasn't the United Kingdom then, there were lots of different areas which had different kings. It was very much kind of tribal in a way. And eventually, those kingdoms got amalgamated, and there was one or two kings. And then obviously, conquered by the Romans, and lots of things have happened in the history. So there is, you can't say that anyone is the true king. You can only say that the line has been followed up to the point it's at now. And we have who we have, and I think we're quite lucky to have who we have. And I hope that makes sense. It is kind of complicated, but like I say, basically the crown was won and lost by war. So sometimes bloodlines weren't even part of it. And I really hope that makes sense. So please, if you've joined, just say hello or ask me a question. You can leave your question in the comment section below. Dawn Moore says, I'm a descendant of the Duke of Buckingham. Guess that means I can't claim my house back. Yes, the Duke of Buckingham basically is the one who started off Buckingham Palace. But it wasn't called Buckingham Palace, it was called Buckingham House. And it started off as a country property on the outskirts of London, as a bit of a retreat. And the area was quite boggy and a bit, it was like a moorland. And of course they developed the land and drained all the swamps. It was basically a big swamp. It was drained, and eventually it got added to, and Queen Victoria, to cut a long story short, as you've probably seen if you watched Victoria, decided to make it her primary residence and changed it from being a house to a palace. And over the years it was added to, and the front facade was built because of all Queen Victoria's children. It was primarily a nursery, and of course all the state apartments. So the Queen's actual rooms are now towards the back of the palace and slightly towards the side. So the Queen doesn't actually live in, technically, the whole palace. She has private rooms towards the back. But how amazing to be a descendant of the Duke of Buckingham. I would love to do my family tree and see how far back I go. Dawn says there was a great video on YouTube about it. All the castles and palaces, actually. If you can find the name of it, please let me know. Vanity says, have you ever traced your family history? I've gone back, so I think we've gone back to about the 1700s. but as of that point, there was no royal ancestry. Although my family name did have a claim to the throne of Wales, going way back. So who knows if I am a branch of that family name? I don't know. But there was a king of Wales who had my family name. Deborah Lundy says, do you believe Queen Elizabeth will step down if her husband dies first? No, I think she'll carry on very much the same way her mother did and Queen Victoria did. I think she'll just carry on. I don't think we will see her stepping down. I think she will die a queen, and then the instant transfer will happen when she dies. We will, the very second that she dies, we will have a king. Maybe a regency, but possibly not, because the Queen isn't of not sound mind, and her body is still able. So although she's reducing, she isn't at the point where there's precedent for there to be a regency. Usually if there's a regency, the monarch is insane. They're either absent on long travel, or they've gone to war in the past, or they're completely incapacitated and therefore not able to fulfill the role. The Queen is none of those. So it would be unprecedented to call a regency from the Regency Council yet. So I think we'll just see the slow, gradual handover of duties to her family. And I think she will die a queen. Marilyn says, well said. I've read so much about Great Britain, and I know for a fact that you're a colonial cousin, but we have nothing so far to link me to royalty. Probably if you go back far enough, everyone might have a link to the royal family, but you just have to go back far enough. Loretta says, is it safe to say the 1701 Act removed power from the monarchy and it's just ceremonial now? Well, actually, the first thing that limited monarch power was the Magna Carta. And although Britain doesn't have a written down constitution, all of our laws stemmed from Magna Carta. And Magna Carta limited the power of the king. And they still had, it was still an absolute power, but it did limit it somewhat. So that started it off. The 1701 Act basically turned it into the monarchy that we have now, a constitutional monarchy. So the monarch does retain powers, but doesn't use them. We have an elected government, very much the same way that many other democracies have an elected government. It's the government that runs the country. The Queen is, or the monarch is, the head of state, and they basically rubber stamp all the decisions made by the elected government. However, one good thing about the monarchy is that they can question. In the meetings with the Prime Minister of the day, if they don't like something, they can always say, you know, they can ask a question about it, and they can offer they can warn against things that can make the Prime Minister of the day think about what they're doing. And of course, if you've had someone who's been on the throne for many years, they've likely got a wealth of experience that can suggest possibly things. So, for example, with Brexit, leaving the European Union, it's the government that will take us out of the European Union, but the Queen will sign the assent to do that. So, although it's limited, they do still have power and royal prerogative. And there's quite a few powers that the monarch would never willingly exercise. And of course, it's the monarch that can call Parliament and can disband Parliament and call an election and appoint the Prime Minister. Dawn says the series is called The Queen's Castles. I have it on DVD. I have seen that one. Princess Beatrice says the Queen seems like an equivalent of a president, power-wise, kind of. Yes, yeah, a constitutional monarchy. She is the head of state. The monarch is the head of state, very much like the president. But the president also has the function of being like our prime minister, the head of the government. But we keep it separate. So the head of state is separate to the government. They aren't the same, which I think is quite a good balance to have, which means that we can have a very long-standing hereditary head of state, which of course the people get to know and get to know the family. There's a personal link to it. And of course the monarch embodies the state. They are a physical human representation of the nation. And of course they don't have to be doing things for political reason. They're above politics. So whereas a president will always have politics at the back of his mind or her mind, they'll always have party politics, they'll always have their eye on the next election. The monarch of Britain, of a constitutional monarchy, doesn't have to do that. They don't have their eye on the prize. They don't have to do things for a political reason. They're a political tool, but they don't have to be political, if that makes sense. So there are lots of benefits of having the head of state and the government separate, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But it's certainly a system that's worked for a very long time in this country and will continue to do so. Princess Beatrice says, if I could, I'd be a monarchist. And Rana says, good, great day to all. Hello, Rana. And like always, if you have a question, you can ask me the question in the chat box below. I've covered everything that I want to speak about today, so I really am open to any of your questions. Vanity Girl says, how about a few basic facts about me? Nothing too personal, of course, just a few things to let us know more about you. What would you like to know? It's always hard when talking about yourself. Please let me know something that you'd like to know. And I'll try and be as open as I possibly can. Dawn says, yes, let's know more about me. Ask me a question. I really don't know where to start. Let me know. Age. What would you think I was? Let me know. Okay, I'll tell you my age if you guess first. You can guess. You don't have to try and flatter me. Not fair. Give a guess. If you give a guess, I will let you know. Joanne Lowe says, what's my occupation? I have said this before. I work in a special needs school, primarily with an autistic population and with complex medical needs. So that's my day job. Vanity Girl says late 20s, Chelsea 35, Dawn Moore says 26, Princess Beatrice 29. You're kind of there. I'm 34. Well, I'll be 34 in August. So I'm 33, but 34 in August. Annie Mercy says, hi Elliot, how did you acquire your vast knowledge of royals? Have you always loved studying history? Yes, I've always loved history and royal history in particular. My parents, but my mother in particular, liked the monarchy. Both of my grandparents liked the monarchy. I've always watched them on the news. I've always read books. When I was probably early 20s, I started reading lots of really heavy biography books about royals. And I've just, I mean, really, my interest was more in historical royals. Although obviously I kept abreast of all the modern royal families and what they do, but I've only probably taken a real interest in, for example, the engagements they do probably within the last 5 years, and hence one of the reasons why I started this channel. Dawn says you work with children too. Beck Terry says you don't look 34, you look younger. Thank you. That's made my day. Nicole says, do I cook? Well, I can cook, but whether it's successful or not is debatable. But I'm not a wonderful cook, but I can cook. I'm more of a can cook, won't cook kind of person. Am I married? No, I'm not married. Although I have been partnered since 2001, so 15, 16 years. So a long-term relationship. Vandergill says, you're young enough to be my son. Dawn says, does your family watch your live chat? I've told them about it, but I don't think they actually watch it, no. But they're very supportive of the channel. So yeah, they know about it, they know that I do it, and they're very happy for me to do it. And I think my mother's quite happy. She calls me a journalist, and I wouldn't go quite as far as to say I'm a journalist. I'm more of a commentator, I believe. But my mother quite likes to think of me as a journalist. Hello from Boston. Hello to Boston. Joanne Lowe says, really enjoying the live feed. This is my first one. I'm really glad you're enjoying it. Any royal questions? Then let me know. Beatrice or Iris says, I'm trying to make a biography of Princess Beatrice of York. It will mostly be about her charity work. Just thought I'd make that comment. Of course. And I think Beatrice has a channel or a website and a Twitter. So please ask her, and I'm sure she'll give you the link to that. Marilyn says, I have to leave, but thank you. Goodbye, Marilyn, and thanks for watching. Tony Jones says, glad to be back. Love this. Hello, Tony, and I'm glad you're back. Dawn Moore says, moms are always right. Tony says, Boston here too. So I've got quite a few people in Boston watching. Dana says, you're a journalist, content creator. Well, journalist, YouTuber, special needs teacher, bit of everything. Deborah says I look 26. Thank you very much. I'm quite liking these early 20s or mid 26s. It's crazy to think that in 6 years' time I'll be 40. That's crazy. Time goes so fast. Diana says 31. Vanskill says you're an animal lover with 2 cats. Yes, I've got 2 cats, Molly and Rory. There used to be another cat. I used to have Billy, but Billy sadly got killed in a car accident, and unfortunately we never got him back to say goodbye. I sort of found out a week later that he'd been killed, so I never got Billy back. But yes, Molly and Rory are my cats, and I've always had cats growing up as well. Tony says, have you seen all the royal documentaries on YouTube, Monarchy 1 to 5 and all the others? I've watched some of them. I've watched some of the jewels ones, about Diana's jewels and the royal family jewels. I've watched David Starkey DVDs and videos about monarchy. Joanne Lowe says, from Canada, lived in Manchester for a year to study in the mid-80s and become fascinated with the royal family at that time. That was a very exciting time to be around in the mid-80s with the royal family, because Diana was becoming towards her height in the royal family and really getting to grips with her royal role. And of course, the public perception was that the relationship at that time between Diana and Charles was still very good. Nicole says, I'm a journalist, a very fine journalist. We would not be here every week if you were not so great. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate all the comments and all the comments that people leave on the videos too. It really does make it feel like a community when people can have discussions and talk about the subject and then come together every week in the live chats and have a good old chat. Diana says the bust of Winston Churchill is being returned to the Oval Office. It already has. In the video I made about the bust, it wasn't the actual bust, it was a bust of Winston Churchill that Donald Trump had returned. But in the video I made about Donald Trump and the invite of the Queen, the bust in the pictures where he's standing with Theresa May and the bust of Churchill is in the middle, that is the actual British bust that was returned from the British Embassy. So when Barack Obama returned the bust of Winston Churchill, he didn't return it to Britain, he returned it to the British Embassy in Washington. So all that had to happen was papers were released to loan that British bust to the White House. So of course Trump had it reinstated. So it's already there, it is back. It's back in the Oval Office. Dawn Moore says agreed, and Tony Jones says where do you get your royal news? From all over the place. I keep my ears very much to the ground. I sort of know the correct people to follow here, there and everywhere. So pretty much when a story breaks, I get it fairly quickly. And unless it breaks while I'm at work, I can put it out fairly quick. So straight after I've done this live chat, I already have an article written about the new Diana statue, which is going to be used to commemorate the 20th anniversary. So that is a new breaking story. And as soon as I've gone off on the live chat, I will be recording and putting out that video. So please look out for that one. It will be going live within probably the next hour. So yeah, so I get my news from all over the place. And also some insiders as well. And I do a fair bit of snooping. As all, there you go. Maybe I am a reporter. I do a bit of royal snooping. Tony says, just joining, not sure if you mentioned the Crown. I did, and I said that so much has been going on with videos and work, and I've intended to watch the Crown for so long now. And now that I have it, I will be watching it. But I just need to find the correct time to watch it. So hopefully very soon. And I will let you know as soon as I do. Tony's laughing at my snooping. And Beatrice is saying, I'm lucky to have some insiders. Steve says, do I think there'll be anything else to mark Diana's 20th anniversary? If you didn't know already, the statue. So there's the statue, there's the World Kindness Day, there's the, I think it's 20 inspirational people from all over the world going to receive an award. Diana's brother is going to be having some kind of walking in her shoes exhibition. So there's lots of things going on, but there will not be a concert. There was a concert for the 10-year anniversary, but there won't be a concert for this anniversary. But hopefully the World Kindness Day will become something that will happen every year. I really hope. Diana says the coverage of Princess Beatrice and Eugenie seems to be increased as of late. Well, of course, they're growing up and they're wanting to put themselves out there a lot more. So, of course, they're being covered a lot more in the media. Dawn says, I think the royals should be made aware of what you do because you do a great service to them by not putting out junk and sticking with fact and no speculation. Of course, I will always endeavour to give you the facts and not speculation. I don't like reading things that aren't true. So I would never like or willingly or knowingly put out things that weren't true. And of course, if something is speculation, I will say in a video that this isn't confirmed. It's, you know, it might not be true. And of course, I'd never try and put out junk. And the royals maybe are aware of what I do because in the cards I sent out, I did put that it wasn't just from me, the card, it was from my YouTube channel and all the people that contribute to the channel and all the viewers. So the name of the channel was put out there. So I don't know if any of the aides made them actually aware of it, but hopefully they are. And of course, if you follow me on Twitter, I do sometimes link in Kensington Palace and the British Monarchy to the videos, tweets that I put out. So maybe somewhere they do know. I don't know. Vanessa Gill says snooping, as all journalists do, right? Your mum is right. Well, snooping, armchair snooping. I snoop from my armchair. Let's just say. Bet says agreed, Dawn, and Nicole says so true. Joanne says I would be very interested in your view of The Crown. I loved it, but I don't have my royal expertise. I will let you know as soon as I've watched it, but from everything I've heard, it seems very good and fairly accurate, although probably with a fair bit of artistic license. Another question, do you support the... Okay. I started to read a question, but I'm not going to continue reading that one. Nicole says, don't soil our lovely chat with this filthy statement. I completely agree. Fuzzy Puppet says, do you know how Nottingham Cottage may look? Small and elegant, maybe. I can't find any pictures. There aren't any pictures of it that I can find either. I've looked. I've tried to snoop. However, if you go on Google Maps, you can see an aerial picture of it. It is a small cottage that is right opposite Diana's old apartment and right next to her old private garden. It's attached to other cottages, and it does have low sloping ceilings. William and Harry, both being fairly tall, both have to stoop in parts of the house to get through. And there were reports that Harry had a decorator in, and I believe this story. I don't think I put it out in a video, but because it didn't really fit anywhere with one of the videos I was doing. But from a reputable designer who claims that they worked with Harry on his Nottingham Cottage, he had it redesigned in a fairly trendy colour palette of grey and pink. So his living room is grey with accents of pink. Believe it or not, grey and pink. So that gives you an idea about his taste in colours. And apparently he picked the colours himself. And for those of you who follow interior design, a couple of years ago, grey and pink was the in thing. So I believe that that's true. So although no pictures exist of Nottingham Cottage, we have a kind of idea. Dawn says, in Canada, we had a day last week called Let's Talk, bringing awareness to mental health. Kensington Palace was even tweeting in support of it. Yes, I do remember. And of course, William and Harry and Catherine are really supporting of mental health charities. They are heads of the Head Together charity, which is like a branch of lots of different, kind of like an umbrella branch of lots of different mental health charities. And of course, they visit these sorts of charities throughout the year. Dana says a series debuted on Masterpiece about Victoria, which had a great first several episodes. I really do want to watch it. I have everything on a memory card, which I will be watching. And Deborah says refreshing. I'm sure it was. If you Google sort of grey and pink colour schemes, I'm sure you'll get an idea of what it looks like. It is very fresh and modern. Grey and lemon and grey and yellow is also very big right now. Joanne says, I am impressed with your job. Working with children with special needs shows your heart. Thank you very much. It's a job that you do for love, not for money. Let's put it that way. There are many, many, many unsung heroes who work with children with special needs who don't get a lot of recognition. But they should, because they do a fantastic job. And you know, I'm impressed by people that I see every day, even in my own setting where I work. So lots of really good people work in that kind of an environment. Rebecca says, Dawn Moore, I agree, done a great job and not putting out junk. I do try very hard. And it's sometimes difficult when people are reporting junk the whole time and people are believing it and lapping it up, and I'm thinking, don't watch that, it's just a load of rubbish. Deborah says, got to go, see you next week. I will be going soon too. It's quite late where I am and I really want to put out that video. Greta says, I think you're 34. 33, 34 in August. Beck says, must go, we'll watch next week. My copy of the final Curtsey is in the mail now. I'm still waiting on mine. So Tony says, did you ever research the Queen's condo in Chicago? No, because again, I didn't really think it was a true story. Why would the Queen buy a condo in Chicago? It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't think it's true. And I've not heard any reports of it in the UK. And if it was true, if there was any glimmer of truth in it, it would be all over the British media. Something would have leaked. So I think it's just a complete fabrication, completely. Chelsea says, I wish the USA did more for mental health as they do for someone who has a missing arm. I think mental health is a hidden, silent illness that people just, it hasn't got the attention it deserves. And hopefully the royal work that William, Catherine and Harry are doing will highlight that, and perhaps that will spread to different countries all over the world. Fuzzy Puppet says, do you think he's looking for a larger home? I've seen articles, wasn't sure if it was true. I made a video saying that I believe that he was looking at a property called Waterhall in Norfolk, which is a country property. It's very private. It fits all of his needs. It's not too far away from William and Catherine at Anmer Hall and the Queen at Sandringham. And the property has actually sold. So I'm just keeping my ears to the floor and waiting to see if it is in fact Harry, who we know is trying to put down roots and who needs a bigger property because Nottingham Cottage is so small. So I'm waiting to see if that's true, and if it is, I will be reporting as soon as I know. Steve says, good night, Elliot. Thanks for the and chat next week. Yes, chat next week, 10 o'clock, Saturday, 10 o'clock GMT time. Tina says, I understand more paediatric mental health buildings are being built through public funding. Must have Rhodes supporter. Dawn says it's because the stigma has to be broken. I completely agree. That is what royal supporters, I do. Yes, it's not Rhodes, it's royal. It's because the stigma has to be broken. That's what I love about the Duke and Duchess and Harry. They speak out, good for them. I completely agree. Totally. It's all about breaking down the stigma and breaking down barriers and just making people think about people who may be going through a really bad time, but it's just hidden. It's not like a missing arm or a physical injury. Okay, so I'm going to end the chat now. We've had a fantastic chat, loads of questions asked and loads covered, and I'm always, as always, impressed with the degree of questions that I get asked. So thank you for joining me on the live chat. If you've missed any of it, you can always catch up on the YouTube channel. I will be putting the video up very shortly. So all that's left for me to say is please join me next week. And I really hope you enjoy the week's upcoming videos. And from me in Shropshire, as always, goodbye.